I've been on a Mega Man binge for a while, so let's talk about the mobile game. I just reached level 101, so I think I'm well versed enough to give my opinion. Why level 101 specifically? Well, you'll see. My main account is on the Taiwan version, so I will be speaking mainly from that. But I do have a global account and will briefly mention that at some point. So I'm a huge Mega Man fan, especially for the X series. I speedran X3, X4, X5, and X6. Old school viewers will know I speedran the MX inspired series, 20XX and 30XX. Needless to say, control and feel is very, very important to me. And for a franchise that is designed around being a high APM action platformer, it can make or break a game. So does X-Dive play like a Mega Man X game? Yes, it does. Based on what I've seen, I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, so let me explain. First, X-Dive is designed with a touchscreen in mind, but I won't lie, they're really bad. You can make them work, and people have, but let's be real, they're bad. It may not have been intentional, but a controller is just way better to handle the game. And yes, you can support controller even on mobile, as long as your device can support Bluetooth, which is practically every device these days. Second, I have a feeling the majority of people have only played X1, X4, and haven't really seen how the X series have progressed. The gameplay in X-Dive isn't exactly X1, but it lines up pretty well with X8, which is the latest game in the series. Which isn't saying much since it was 18 years ago, and that's a long time. The game structuring actually resembles a lot of X8, with its emphasis on wave clearing as fast as possible and maintaining top ranking. While X1 and X4 are often competing as the best game in the series, one of their flaws in hindsight is lacking a goal beyond just getting to the end of the stage and fighting a boss. In the past that would be enough, but in a reality where fans are extremely good at games, or newcomers are turned off by heavy difficulty, being able to effectively choose your own difficulty by getting the highest rank possible or not caring and just playing through casually is a good system to have for action games, and is often a mechanic many of those action games lean on for replay value. In X-Dive, instead of a letter ranking like in X8, you instead have mini achievements per stage. Completing all of these objectives grant you permanent rewards, and for events, which are basically special levels, you have this and are also granted a time bonus for completing a level as fast as possible. And even further, there are bonus characters and weapons that add a flat multiplier to your rewards for completing a stage with them, giving you incentive to break out of your comfort zone and master a different character. Again, you can choose to not care about all of this. You can even get half the minimum rewards by spending your stamina to not play the game. The game is incredible at allowing you to choose your own difficulty. Thirdly, and this is my last point to wrap this all together, the lock-on feature. This is actually a problem for some people, particularly purists, but I'm going to be honest here and say Mega Man has been stuck at shooting forward and only forward for way too long. It actually hasn't really worked well past X1, arguably X2, since the games have gotten vastly more vertical. X7 attempted to do away with this, but that game is garbage, so it didn't pan out. It totally works here though, most of the time. With this, you no longer had to worry about swapping to a different weapon just so you can shoot something that's out of your buster's line of sight. And both enemy placement, enemy types, and level design have more freedom as a result. With all these in mind, I would say Taicom has made nice bite-sized levels that offers good action and fast gameplay. They're not without their flaws though. For instance, the lock-on can be janky, PvP is practically unplayable with high ping, the tutorial section is slow and insulting, and the first levels are uninspired and frankly boring. On top of that, the story hook is non-existent. All that said, the pros definitely outweigh the cons when it comes to gameplay and general feel. So when people say it doesn't play like a Mega Man X game, I can't say I found that to be true. In fact, I find there isn't enough talk about what it actually does fail at as a gacha game. Let me explain. I've played a fair amount of gachas, but I'm going to compare this to what is probably the gacha game they strive to be, Genshin Impact. So Genshin Impact has a nice open world, a decent story, and all that jazz. But that isn't what we want to talk about here. I want to talk about the system as a gacha game. As everyone knows, being a free-to-play player is a hard knock life for any gacha, and typically involves a lot of grinding and patience. In Genshin, there are dailies, login bonuses, material gathering, so on and so forth. Effectively, you can do the bare minimum, which takes about 30 minutes, and then you can push to even do more mundane tasks to do several more inches. While there is a upper limit, the game can be as grindy as you want it to be. Translating this to X-Dive would show there are similar systems in place, down to the material gathering. The problem here is the game pretty much fast tracks you to level 100, and then after that, you're pretty much left to dry. When you're free to play by choice, you essentially need to have hard goals in mind that isn't just getting an S-rank character, because that would lead to unleashing your pay card. It's not heavily difficult to do this, but the setback here is if you start free to play, you'll be using B-rank characters for a long time, unless you planned your battle rolls very well. B-rank characters aren't bad by any stretch of imagination though. X, Axel, and Maximo can get you through pretty much all of the PvE content by themselves, and it will only get easier if you get Black Zero and get him to 4 stars. And then he'd literally be able to one-man army the entirety of the PvE content, including race mode. But that's the problem. There's not enough substance here to apply a long-term goal beyond just getting GA rank in PvP. In Genshin, there's the abyss that you can always strive for. Best case scenario you have to X-Dive is Jacob Elevator, which hard limits you to 3 tries per character per day, which means you're heavily held back by not having a slew of characters, which means you're going to have to eventually start pulling on banners. Now, to be fair, Taicom did see this as a problem and has recently started giving out characters and weapons for free, such as Second Armor X. But again, this just cements the problem that if you aren't doing PvP, there's no long-term goal in place. For me personally, since I'm such a fan of X and Aelia, I want to get all the alts of X and Aelia, and eventually I'll add Nana to that list when she eventually shows up. As X literally has the most alts in this game, I have a lot of reason to keep playing Dive. But what about as far as gameplay is concerned? Well, I'm a speedrunner, and I'm naturally inclined to play for speed. So I spend most of my time playing race mode and getting the fastest possible times with my X alts. Currently I'm doing it with Ultimate Armor X, but I plan on swapping to Falcon Armor X whenever I get him. I also want the Air Buster as it increases my movement speed, and I want long range weaponry to take out enemies from afar to limit useless movement. Now all this sounds like a great goal to have, except Black Zero, which with a little bit of luck you can get for free, is one of the fastest characters in the game. If it weren't for my goal to play as just X and Aelia, I would never have to pull anything besides weapons. Now I want to back up a bit and say this is actually a good thing. It's extremely F2P friendly to have free characters that are suitable for clearing current content. I'm not saying this is bad in of itself, especially since it means you'll be immediately viable for current events after you push these characters to 5 stars for maximum output. This is not the problem. The problem is it's not exactly fun to be free to play in this game. Part of this is the not very generous payday system, requiring 250 pulls to basically get a character for free right after. The payday system also only applies to that one banner, which means as a free to play player, you're effectively stuck with either rolling on dive limited banners where you can spend 25,000 of your elemental medals to get a character of your choice, or stick to your free to play options and laser focus on growing them. There's also the third option of re-rolling until you get a character you really want, and then laser focusing on that instead. But I wouldn't recommend this since the majority of modes require multiple specialties. The other part of this is how you grow your characters, which is through memories, which are made from patches. Honestly, it's pretty generous when you're working on a B rank character or even an A rank character, but upping X rank characters take a long time. For reference, it takes 30 character patches to get 1 S rank memory. To get a single S rank character to 5 star, you need 330 memories, which means you need 9,900 patches. Include DNA upgrades to that and you'll need 136 memories, or 4,080 patches. Combined together, that is 13,980 patches. And we're lucky if we get 150 patches for grinding events in PvP, which would be difficult to do for starting players anyways. Essentially, the best way to get patches is through pulling duplicates on banners. A B rank duplicate gives you 20 patches, an A rank gives you 140 patches, and an X rank gives you 900 patches. But this relies on you actually spending your currency on banners. So we end up with an issue where if you want to make any sort of meaningful progress, you need to pull on some banners. Now, do you pull for a character or pull for patches? Either way, ultimately speaking, it's best to wait for 25,000 in your currency so you can get a free character out of it. As a new player, you'll get this in 2 to 3 months, give or take. As a veteran, you'll get this in 4 to 5 months. And there is no soft payday system like in Genshin, so the rates are true to what they are, meaning you really should not risk haphazardly pulling, because the chances of it backfiring on you are extremely high. This can mean you make no progress in characters and weapons for months on end, due to the nature of the beast. Now again, Taiwan has seen this as a real problem, so they give away free stuff as you level to 100. All of that can certainly hold you over. But these are simply compensating for a problem they have acknowledged instead of actually addressing it. Now we come to the last part of this problem, which is the AP system. Now, like in multiple gacha games, beginner players have a massive load of stamina to spend. More than they can handle usually, until they start learning what is and isn't important. What they wouldn't know is they're getting a bonus of 800 AP. At level 101, told you to get back to that, you lose 640 of this bonus. At level 121, you lose all of it. So you would go from 1300 AP before level 121 to 500 AP. Now, this doesn't sound terrible at first glance, but it actually is terrible. Between your dailies and guild bounties, you have very little AP to spend on gathering materials, and overall caps off your character growth to just about 30 to 60 minutes a day. So we have a hard pay system, a drift feed of patches needed to rank up characters, and a low amount of AP per day once you reach level 101. And we have a gacha game that can't play itself, but constantly hard stops you from making meaningful progress. It's at this point I've come to realize that this was how it was on day one. And oh boy, I don't know if I could have handled that. I'm already not free to play, due to the frustration of gathering patches. Could I have been okay with lacking everything else? I don't know. I just don't know. Because while I say this plays like a decent Mega Man X game, it's frankly not the same caliber as a Mega Man X game. Ultimately, X-Dive is a game for Mega Man fans more than gacha fans. It's not better than Genshin, it's not better than Fire Emblem Heroes, and it's not better than Fate Grand Order. You truly had to love Mega Man in order to get enjoyment out of this. And while that may have been the intention, I feel that Taiwan will need to look into balancing resource management and adding more stamina free modes to get more normies to try the game. And honestly, for people who aren't like me and who are already invested in the franchise to a high degree, they need a reason to care as well. X and Zero can only carry nostalgia for so long. Gacha games are all about personal investment for personal fun. If the player finds they aren't having fun, they won't invest. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by leaving a like and a comment below. If you want to see more, I do plan on uploading more Mega Man related videos soon, so be sure to subscribe to be notified whenever a new video arrives. I'll see you all next video.